Well, good morning, YouTube. Well, somewhat good morning anyways. It's actually almost 11 a.m. and the rain has finally just stopped enough to where I can maybe get some work done on this trailer. I still need to wire the brakes in. I want to do a lighting check. Other than that, I just got to make sure I got chains and straps and my binders and everything in there so that we can secure our cargo once we get to where we're going. And then I'd like to get out of here at some point today. So I'm gonna go fire up the truck, get it hooked up, and most likely I will take the trailer up to Goliath because that's where all my wire strippers and crimpers and terminal ends and everything are anyways. So any wiring work will be better up there, and I won't be laying in a mud puddle, at least be laying in a wet parking lot. Hi guys, we got it all hooked up. I went around and double checked all the tires. They're still holding air to make sure that none of them leak down overnight. I also took the grease gun and hit every hub, added a little bit more grease to them. Even though I packed them last night, just figured a little extra in there is not gonna hurt. So now we're gonna take it up to Goliath. We'll check the wiring. You see I've got the running lights and the hazards on the truck. And we have one flashing light back here. And nothing there. So we've got no running lights on the trailer and only one turn signal brake light. But anyway, my power probe is up at Goliath. All my electrical working tools are up at Goliath. So we're just gonna take it up there to give it a short little test trip to make sure everything works out well. And we'll do the wiring on it. Hi guys, we are up at Goliath and I have driven the trailer up on a couple blocks because I wanted the brake axle to be up off the ground. That way I can adjust the brakes properly. And gives me a little bit more clearance underneath the trailer for doing wiring as well. Yeah, it started pouring on me again. I got the brakes adjusted and I'm checking trailer wiring. I've got the taillights to where they will work. We got one bad bulb in there and the side markers are all broken. But for some reason, when I tested one of the side markers, it was kind of blinking on the ground side too. So I started checking wiring and I probably shouldn't even got into it. I had them working. But the plug on the back of the truck, I tested everything there. It is good. And somehow in this, I don't know, 1.5 foot section of lead where the 7-pole connector goes into the back of the truck and it then kind of steps down to the 4 wiring system. Somehow there, things are weird, where the green should be for turn signal, the yellow should be for turn signal, the brown should be the running light. For some reason, my green is my running light. And then I've got turn signal on yellow and red and brown, which doesn't make any sense. I've checked all the continuity between the plugs and there's no cross continuity, so something is weird somewhere. So I'm just starting from scratch. And I'm gonna try to make it all right. But had to set out the rain again. Well, good morning again, guys. Yeah, it's the next morning and I am in Lebanon, Ohio. Just about 35 miles. On Interstate 71 past Cincinnati. All right guys, it is 43 degrees and very windy here in Lebanon, Ohio. Just in case you couldn't hear me out there, this is where I ended up stopping last night. I finally just had to quit recording all the repairs on the trailer that I was doing because this video was never supposed to be about the trailer. That was supposed to be done yesterday. Yeah, I know I had a couple things to do to it before I went, but they're supposed to be quick and easy and we're gonna get on the road. And it turned into a hassle. So I didn't actually leave the house last night until 5:30, 20 till 6, something like that. It was just getting dark, as you could see in that one clip that I did take. And my intention was not to film anything because it was dark. It was rainy, it was foggy, visibility was terrible. Even though I was going up, Highway 68 through Tennessee is absolutely beautiful through there. However, with those weather conditions and me pulling a trailer, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to bother. There's nothing to see anyways. I need to focus on the road. So I really just figured that I would just get where I'm going and not record anything, and then I'd pick up here in the morning with you guys like I'm doing now. However, about 11 o'clock last night, I stopped in Richmond, Kentucky. That's where the brand new Buc-ee's is. You know me, I can't pass up a Buc-ee's, so I did just take a quick picture of the store. That was it. And then as I came into Cincinnati, when you come down that big hill rolling out of Kentucky into Cincinnati area, it's just so beautiful, and it was all lit up at night. So I got a little bit of footage there, and a couple spots were just some really cool Christmas lights, and I'll throw those in right here. I've got to say, I don't know that I have traveled across country in the Christmas season before, especially at night, but it's actually quite beautiful. There were so many spots with their Christmas lights, and I couldn't pull the phone out to record them because I was driving. But those couple there, they were so large that I could see them from far enough away that I was able to, pull the camera out and get it staged to do so. But we've still got about a 5-hour drive ahead of us today to get up to New York, and we're going to get on the road. I went and got some coffee, brushed my teeth. Truck's warming up. We're almost ready to roll. Also, note to self, remember that there's no way to sleep in this pickup truck comfortably. At least not for a man my size. No room to stretch out your legs, and my knee was already hurting. Now it's even worse because it was in a funky position all night long. Looks like we're running into a little bit of a traffic jam here in Columbus, Ohio. So anyway, guys, like I said, I really planned on leaving earlier, so I'm behind schedule. When I say I'm behind schedule, I'm behind where I wanted to be. I don't have to be anywhere at any specific time, but when you start a trip, you kind of get that goal in mind and where you want to go. Originally, I wanted to leave yesterday around 2 p.m. My thought was I just wanted to get past Cincinnati, hopefully around 8 or so, and I can be in Cincinnati in 6 to 7 hours. So even 9 o'clock would have been fine. And part of my goal there was I love Skyline Chili, and I really wanted to have Skyline Chili for dinner yesterday, but that didn't happen. By the time I got to the Buc-ee's there in Richmond, it was about 11 o'clock, and I was there for about 45 minutes getting fuel, going to the bathroom, getting a drink and snack. And no, I didn't spend a bunch of money. I did pretty good. I spent $7 and not kind of fuel, but $7 in change. Just one snack, one drink. I did good, I think. But the fuel was only $3.93 a gallon. In fact, I took a picture of it. I'll throw that in right here. When I stopped, I was just below half a tank, so I didn't really need fuel. But at that price, it made sense to get fuel, because everywhere else there in Kentucky, was like 483, 485. When I got fuel in North Carolina before I left, it was like 489. And then, shortly after the Buc-ee's, I was looking, and I think once we got into Ohio, I saw a place that was like 539 or something. So, it just made sense to get the fuel there, even though I didn't need it, because, we're talking almost $1 a gallon difference. So I took on about 20 gallons. Popo on the side of the road. So I decided to record a little bit coming through Cincinnati, because the weather by then had finally cleared up, and there was no traffic on the road. It was just beautiful. I got to say, Cincinnati is one of those cities that Katie and I absolutely love. Now, y'all know I'm a country boy at heart. I love living out in the sticks. I love living in the mountains. But I really do enjoy visiting cities for short periods of time and living that lifestyle temporarily. So Cincinnati is really one of the only big cities that we've ever actually stayed in. We've been through a bunch of them, but never actually really stayed in the city. And mostly because years ago, when I first came on board with Love Jugs, there was a convention in Cincinnati called the V2 Expo, and the owner of Love Jugs would send Katie and I there to run that event for him. Now, this is completely different than what we would normally do. It was an indoor event. We didn't bring the rig. We just brought some tables, some tablecloths, a little bit of product to display. This was an event that was not open to the public. And actually, they did have a small section out front that the public could come to, but they weren't allowed through the secondary doors, which is where we were. That area was strictly for industry professionals. So it's where, shop owners, dealerships, so on and so forth, you had to own a business or be part of the industry, racing team, so on and so forth, to be able to get into there. So what we're really doing there is marketing to dealers, not to direct customers. So at this time, Love Jugs was basically just selling to the public via their website, but we saw the potential in building a larger dealer network. So the owner of the company sent Katie and I out there to do this so that we could build that dealer network, which took off pretty good. We've got hundreds of dealers out there now that actually sell our product. But it was pretty neat. We set up this little thing, and we just talked to dealers and tried to get them to, buy, somewhat bulk, be stocking dealers, have it on their shelves, kind of like I am with Extreme Bikes, but within their brick and mortar stores. And, the first year our setup was just a little so-so. We didn't know what we were doing. But the second year, I actually contacted a local Harley-Davidson dealer that was there. They actually loaned us a motorcycle to put on display. I installed Love Jugs on it, put everything out, and it looked really, really nice. Anyway, I said all that to say this. We loved the Cincinnati downtown life. So we booked a hotel for it. We drove the truck from home up there just to pick up, or the excursion. I think we took the excursion both years because we could fit all the product and everything we needed in the back, plus all of our luggage, and Katie and I could ride fairly comfortable and, relatively decent on fuel. So we booked a hotel that was downtown. So once we got there and we got unloaded into the convention center, we parked the truck in the parking garage of the hotel, and we never used the truck for the next 3 days. We did our setup, we went out to dinner, we did a little bit of shopping we needed to do, but we did it all by walking wherever we needed to go. There's so much stuff right there in the downtown area. And this show was always done in, was it January or February? I don't remember. It was always in the off season, but it was cold. So it just something about, walking through the downtown city streets, wearing a big heavy overcoat in the winter. It was just a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it. So Cincinnati has kind of become one of Katie and I's favorite cities to stay in. But someday I'd love to go explore other big cities. Just stay a weekend, maybe 4 days or something. I enjoy those as well. So anyway, I got off topic there for a little bit. My goal was to, get past Cincinnati at a decent time, get some dinner, get some sleep, and then get back up really early this morning and continue the trip. And that was about the halfway point. I think we're only about 20 miles off from being halfway. Although time-wise, it was the longest part, just because the getting out of North Carolina through Tennessee, all the back mountain roads, obviously takes more time than the interstate does. You know, and my goal was to be to Gary's about 5 o'clock today, because that's when he gets off of work, so there's really no sense in being there early. But I wanted to have that evening to hang out with him as well, on top of having Saturday and Sunday. And I'll probably come back home on Monday. So like I said, no set schedule. That's just where I wanted to be and when I wanted to be there. And right now it's currently, a little bit after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm still about 140 miles from Cleveland, Ohio. So potentially I could still make it there on time, assuming that I don't dawdle and I keep this door closed. But who knows? I mean, at some point I'm going to have to pee. I'm almost out of coffee again already. Wow, I'm rambling on. I actually kind of feel like Nick over at Vlogs 18. You know, he talks a lot in his videos. He's a great guy. But he just gets going and going and going. And, you know, he says he has to edit a bunch of stuff out that he talks about. I may have to do the same thing. Just, I don't normally talk this much in videos, but as of right now, driving down the road, there's not a lot of scenery to see. So there's just me in the truck. However, what I wish I could do, and I can't, is what Nick does over at Vlogs 18. If you don't watch Vlogs 18, Trucking with Vlogs 18, go check it out. Really cool channel. Nick's a great guy, a lot of fun. But anyway, he has this function on his phone that mine doesn't have, where he can dual record. He can record his front-facing camera and his rear-facing camera at the same time, so that as he's driving down the road and he's talking to the camera, you can see him talking in the little small window, but you can also see where he's driving at that time, at that moment. And I think that would be a whole lot more appealing in this particular situation. So you're not just looking at my ugly mug, you could actually be seeing the scenery. Again, it's wintertime through northern Ohio farmland. Just pretty brown and gray, some old farms. Not a lot to see, but it's still beautiful nevertheless. Oh, when I mentioned fuel mileage with the Excursion, you know, I was so bored last night driving, and it was so quiet and nobody on the roads hardly. I did a little fuel mileage test with the dually. And because as we were coming through Lexington, Kentucky, a little bit of construction, the speed limit had dropped to 55, so I set the cruise control at 55. And out of curiosity, I wanted to see what kind of fuel mileage this truck would get. And actually, let me correct that. It was about 57, 58. Yeah, I was speeding a tiny bit. So I reset the fuel mileage calculator on the dash. And, you know, for about 10 or 15 miles, it ended up averaging out about 23.5 miles to the gallon. Now, I know that these Liometers on these trucks aren't exactly accurate, but with the tuning and everything I've done on here, it's not very far off. I can get very good fuel mileage with this truck. Now, before I reset it, my daily average for who knows how long, the last time it was reset, was at like 16.9. And that's with all my around town driving, a little bit of highway driving here and there. And that sounds about right. That's probably a true average of what I get with it. Now, I used to have the overdrive unit on here, but remember when we had the transmission done back in May, we had to pull that off. All the electronics are still here, but the actual overdrive unit that bolts to the transmission is no longer there. So we're just running the stock gearing on the truck. But at 55 mile an hour, I'm just below 2,000 RPM. And with the cruise control set, the computer dictating how much fuel it needs when, you know, even with the hills going through Lexington, granted it's not mountains, but it's a little bit hilly, there is a slight elevation change. Like I said, 23.5 miles per gallon, I thought was pretty good. Now, once we got out of that area, I bumped it back up to 65 mile an hour. And it's amazing, over the next probably 40 or 50 miles, it had dropped down to about 19.8. So that 10 mile an hour difference really makes a big difference. Now, I haven't reset it since, and overnight I did idle the truck a little bit because it got cold. I didn't idle it all night long, but when I parked, I left it running for about 10 minutes with the heat on absolute max. Got it so hot in here that I was uncomfortable. and then I shut the truck off. And that kept me comfy for a few hours with my blanket. But then again, a few hours later, at some point, I ended up starting the truck up again, let it run for a while. I don't even remember how long, because I fell back asleep after I started it. And then it got to a point where I was sweating with my blanket on, so I reached up and shut it off. So it didn't idle all night, but it did idle for a little bit. And then now I've gone, I don't know, I've probably gone 100 miles already this morning. And we're now at 18.3 miles per gallon. But I was doing almost 70 there for a while, and I backed it back down to 65. You know, I bumped it up to 70 just because I'm running behind schedule. But then remembering that I don't really have a schedule, so bumped it back down to get the fuel economy. But when I was running 70, it was dropping to the low 17s. I'm sorry, mid 17s. So it's amazing how much difference a few mile an hour can make on fuel economy. And 55 mile an hour to 70 mile an hour, you're literally looking at a 5 mile per gallon difference. And at fuel costs right now, that's a big expense. So if you're not in a hurry, just slow it down. You'd be surprised at how much more relaxing the drive is as well. You know, right now I'm set at 65. Now, I'm saying 65 according to my SCT monitor, because that's got the corrected mile an hour. My actual speedometer is indicating about 68, so there's a couple mile an hour difference there, but I always go by the corrected. It's more accurate. But you'll see cars pass me, trucks pass me. I just stay in the right lane, cruise control set, getting good fuel economy, but it's a much less stressful drive. I can stay relaxed. I'm not coming up on traffic as often. I mean, you do on occasion, but for the most part, set the cruise, hold the steering wheel, watch your mirrors, drive. Guys, I also want to mention that those fuel economy numbers, don't forget, I'm pulling a trailer right now. I don't know the exact weight on this trailer. In fact, if I think about it today, when I stop to get some coffee or something, maybe I'll throw it on the CAT scale and see. But I'm guessing this trailer weighs anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 pounds, but I'm not sure on that. I mean, it's a heavy-duty trailer, but it's not a super heavy-duty trailer. Granted, we're unloaded, and it's a flat trailer, so it doesn't offer a lot of wind resistance. Obviously, on the way home, we won't get as good a fuel economy, because not only will we be adding weight to the equipment that we're picking up, but that equipment's also going to add some wind resistance as well. But we'll do another test on the way home, assuming that I remember, and we'll see what the difference is. Also keep in mind those numbers, those were at the moment numbers. I mean, you're never going to average 23.5 miles to the gallon in a diesel pickup truck like this. Like I said, I was already up to speed, set at 55 mile an hour. In fact, I even reset it when I was kind of at the higher elevation so that we can calculate for the climb. Not trying to pretend that my truck gets an unreasonable amount of fuel mileage. But it was interesting to see what I got at that moment, at that speed. Now, obviously, when you're slowing down to get on and off of the interstates, pulling in and out of places, you're going to use a lot more fuel in the acceleration. But those big numbers, they were already at speed. Therefore, you're not using a lot of throttle. You're not using a lot of fuel to overcome load at that point. You're already at that cruising speed. All right, who loves the movie Shawshank Redemption? I know I do. Right now, we are traveling through Mansfield, Ohio. And Mansfield, Ohio happens to be the location of the prison that they used to film that movie. A couple other movies had some scenes filmed there as well, but that was probably the most famous one. Years ago, Katie and I and some friends, we actually went and toured it, and it was really, really awesome. That was back when we used to work the show in Sandusky, Ohio. We don't do it anymore, but it was a really cool experience. And if you're in the Mansfield, Ohio area and you like that movie, I highly recommend you go there and check it out. right, guys, I know I said I was going to keep the door closed, but I had to pee, and I really needed some coffee. So I got off of this exit, and I went ahead and ran over the cat scale, and I was going to go ahead and get coffee over at the Pilot, but then I saw the Sheets over here, and I love the burritos at Sheets, so I decided to stop and get one. Now, I told you guys that last night I really wanted some Skyline chili, and I passed the Skyline about an hour and a half ago. It was around 1 o'clock, and I hadn't eaten anything yet today, so I was like, I can get my Skyline. But the thing is, at the time, I really wasn't hungry, and I really didn't want a sit-down meal. I wanted to keep moving. So my thought was, I'll grab a burrito. I can eat a burrito while I drive. However, I was watching them make the burrito, and I picked so many ingredients to put in the burrito that they were having trouble getting it to wrap. In fact, she ripped the first tortilla and had to get a new one. And she still struggled, had to get somebody else to come over and wrap it up. So yeah, it's a pretty big burrito. And yeah, like I think we're gonna need a bigger tortilla. Anyway, with all that trouble, I knew that I wasn't going to eat it while I was driving anyways. So I just sat in the truck and ate it, and now we're getting back on the highway. You know, sad thing is, I ordered chicken in it, and I think they forgot the chicken because I don't remember eating any chicken. However, it was so good that I don't even care. I know I paid for chicken and didn't get it, but it was such a good burrito. Otherwise, no regrets. Look, guys, Ohio is not messing around. There have been so many troopers and county police in the median, speed traps left and right through here. Quite a few. Another good reason to just set your cruise control a little bit below the speed limit. You can pretty much eliminate the possibility of getting a speeding ticket. Right now we are still on Interstate 71. We're about 40 miles or so south of Cleveland, Ohio. So we're still making pretty good time. I don't think we're going to make it to Gary's by 5. There is one other place I'd like to stop along the way if we can. You'll see that in a little bit, if it's possible. It may not be possible. Anyway, looking at that scale ticket, you know, this trailer's heavier than I thought. I was thinking it was 1,000 to 1,500 pounds, and I was thinking total trailer. You know, that was showing just the axle weight of being about 1,850. Now, keep in mind, that's not counting the tongue weight because the tongue weight was on the truck. And if you haven't noticed, there's no ramps on the trailer right now. I actually took them off and put them in the bed of the truck. So they are technically adding to the rear axle weight of the truck right now. So realistically, this trailer probably is every bit of 2,000, maybe even 2,200 pounds. I don't know how much actual tongue weight we've got right now, and I don't know how much those ramps actually weigh. But I know they're heavy. They're all steel. You know, they're designed for getting little mini excavators and bobcats and stuff like that up onto the trailer. So they're definitely not lightweight. Definitely heavier than I thought. All right, guys, we stopped at this rest area here off of Chautauqua Lake, I believe is the way you say it. So on Interstate 86 in New York, just outside of Jamestown. And as you can see, we lost our sunlight. I really wanted you guys to see this. It is one of the most beautiful rest areas I've ever been to. Now, say that, I've only been here before in the spring and early summer, never in winter, or well, at least near winter. Now it is just after 5:30 and the sun is down. My plan was to be here a little bit earlier because I wanted to be at Gary's house by 5 o'clock or so. And I'm still about 30 minutes away from Gary's house, but we didn't make the sun because I wanted to put the drone up here. So anyway, my plan was to be able to put the drone up when we got here so you can see how beautiful it was.
Proceed to the route.
However, maybe we'll try to do that on Monday. When I'm heading home, obviously it'll be much earlier in the day. Maybe I'll stop by here. We'll do that on the way out. But either way, it's a good time to stop and close this video. So guys, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that this one is long, and I do apologize for some of you that do not like the long ones. Man, I should probably have a jacket on. It's like 32 degrees and I'm out here in short sleeves and sandals. Anyway, guys, I know that not everybody made it this far in the video, and I'm probably gonna have to cut a lot of footage out. But if I didn't and you made it this far, I really appreciate you. And if you're still here now, I want you to leave a comment that says, we're gonna need a bigger tortilla. All right, guys, thanks again. Until the next time I see you, keep those engines running. 30 miles to go.